Welcome to the round 3 edition of the Brisbane Lions Fancast with Dom Fay and Mike Whiting. Coming up later in the show, a chat with Matthew Leuenberger after his return match on Saturday. Before we get to that though, it was an improved performance against the Crows, Mike.
Yeah, it was, Dom, wasn't it? Round 1 was so disappointing, but round 2, the effort was certainly there against the Crows. Few execution issues, but the effort was definitely there, and I think as a fan and supporter of the club, that's probably the most you could have hoped for after that round 1 debacle. I don't know how you saw it, but I thought there was a lot to like about it despite not getting the 4 points.
Well, I still thought that some of the flow in our movement forward wasn't there as it perhaps was late last season and into the pre-season. I thought Adelaide suffered from the same issue, meaning it was probably not great conditions for that kind of football.
Yeah, it was wet and greasy, wasn't it? I think the two teams both went into that round 2 match under a bit of pressure for different reasons. They'd both lost first up, and quite a bit was expected of them, so just made for a little bit of a scrappy contest.
And Pierce Hanley, what a game by him. Perhaps his best at the club.
Yeah, absolutely. He was fantastic, wasn't he? He really had something different, doesn't he? That run off the half back and through the wing sort of areas. Like, he takes the game on, has a couple of bounces, and Lions just don't have many players that can do that. But he showed all of his skills on Saturday. Balking, he's kicking, he's running bounces. Clearly the Lions' best player, no doubt.
Yeah, definitely. And now we look forward to this weekend's game, which is Q Clash 5 against the Suns. I would say the most important Q Clash yet.
Can't wait. It's the two teams that I cover for the AFL website, so I'm really looking forward to it like everyone else. And like you touched on there, and Jonathan Brown said the same thing in a press conference this week, it's probably the game that the Q Clash that people are looking forward to most based on the team's form. Up until now, it's been big brother, little brother, and the Lions have been expected to win. But now, probably for the first time, we've got teams at a similar-ish sort of level. I mean, Brisbane's probably still favoured, but Gold Coast, you can see are starting to make inroads. And being a big Lions man, Dom, I don't know if you're feeling uneasy or not, but
well, I think you can't really fault the effort against Adelaide, but the facts are we are 0-2 coming into round 3. This has become a must-win game for the club.
When you looked at the draw at the start of the season, even the Lions themselves said the first 5 weeks are crucial, and you would have looked at that thinking minimum you want to be 3-2, and ideally you'd like to be 4-1. Now, obviously that's sailed, but there's still a chance to get on a little bit of a winning roll, and it has to start this weekend. And if you want to make finals or progress up the ladder, there's no way around it. You have to beat teams like the Suns.
More than that, I think we also need to get into some winning form if we're going to go all right in that really tough patch between 6 and 14. I think we can grab a few games there against some of the harder opposition, but it all depends on the form we're in.
Absolutely. And now, just looking into this weekend's match, there's some great matchups, isn't there? Like we've got a couple that we can go into now. Daniel Rich has copped heavy tags the first couple of weeks and really battled, and it looks like Carmichael Hunt's being groomed as a tagger for the Suns this year. He took Josh Kennedy and did okay against him last week. How do you think that one will pan out? I mean, Richie has to lift, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think this week is possibly the most important game Daniel Rich has played for a long time, because he dominated last year, probably his best season at the club, and this season so far he's had minimal impact. So he really needs to get back to some form this weekend, and I don't think Hunt's going to make it easy for him.
I guess Daniel Rich has spoken to Simon Black a lot over the last couple of years about how to cope with tags, and it really comes down to Daniel Rich working hard. Like, he's got to work hard, and Carmichael doesn't naturally have the biggest tank in the world, so getting on the outside of those contests and running and continuing to offer himself as an option is what Richie's going to have to do if he wants to try and break that tag and be an asset going forward.
The big one every time the Lions play the Suns is Andrew Rains up against Gary Ablett, and I don't think it's going to let us down again this week either.
Nah, it's a great battle, isn't it? You got a classic tagger against one of the best guys in the competition in Gaz. Two combative, competitive buggers, Rainsy and Gaz. So that'll be another ripping matchup, and probably go some other way towards telling who the winner's going to be.
Without doubt. Now, just briefly before we get to our chat with Matthew Leuenberger, the reserves had another strong win, 39 points over the UWS Giants.
I know Jared Pollock, by all reports, went pretty well. Is there a couple of guys you see that can come in the next few weeks?
As soon as we can get Jared Pollock and Sam Mays into the side and ready for senior football, it will transform our side when that happens. I don't know. I think that's just the element of class that perhaps the Lions are missing right now.
Yeah, we've got a workman-like team the Lions have, but they probably want a couple of players aside from Daniel Rich, so if he is kept quiet, they need a couple of other classier options, I guess.
Definitely. Now that's probably covered it all. It's going to be a big game on Saturday. Coming up next, though, we've got a chat with Matthew Leuenberger after his return. It'll be a good chat.
Yeah, can't wait to speak to the big fella.
That's next on the Fancast.
At the Brisbane Lions, we love social media. Liking our fan page on Facebook or following at Brisbane Lions on Twitter is a great way to keep up to date with the latest Lions news and access exclusive behind-the-scenes content. You could also win some great prizes by entering one of our online competitions.
Welcome back to the Brisbane Lions Fancast. Joining us after his return match on the weekend is ruckman Matthew Leuenberger. Now, Louis, great match on the weekend. How'd you pull up afterwards?
Yeah, not too bad. Pulled up a little stiff in my back, but other than that, that was about it.
Louis, just for those people that don't know exactly what happened with your time off, like you had a year out with the Achilles, can you take us through how difficult that was? And you had to sit out a whole season basically. Can you just tell the fans and the listeners out there how difficult that was?
Yeah, well, the most frustrating thing was the timetable that was sort of put on the injury. Because initially, when I did it, I was told, oh, look, it'd be about a sort of 6-week stint on the sidelines, which didn't seem that bad. I mean, I was obviously frustrated, but that timetable to return just kept sort of getting pushed back more and more. I would have had a good 5 or 6 occasions where the timetable was pushed back on me, and it just became sort of really difficult during those times to sort of see the light at the end of the tunnel, I guess.
Do you feel like you're completely over the Achilles issue now?
Yeah, no, I can't remember the last time I felt any pain in my left one. I mean, I obviously had a recent little stir-up on the right one, which a lot of people were sort of asking about a couple of months ago, but my left one, I've been pretty lucky. I was sort of, I think since about September, October, I've had no issues with it.
How much time do you see yourself playing up forward this year as opposed to in the ruck?
Look, I think it's probably going to come down to the development of Billy Longer, to be honest. If we're both playing together, there'll be a lot more even split, I'd imagine. But while it's just me and Steph, I probably predominantly see me doing the bulk of the ruck, and Steph just sort of pinch hitting while I'm resting.
Just going ahead to this weekend, Louis, big match against the Gold Coast, and they've got a couple of ruckmen that are going quite well at the moment in Zach Smith and Charlie Dixon. How do you see your match up with those guys?
Well, I haven't actually gotten to the stage of looking forward to the Gold Coast. I've just finished reviewing the Adelaide game today, so I'll look forward to those two tomorrow. I mean, they're two young guys, and I've had a couple of run-ins with Zach Smith in previous years gone by, and I'm well aware of what Charlie Dixon can do. One's very strong, the other's very athletic, so there's no opponent out there who doesn't put up a challenge, so I dare say it'll be a tough task again.
You mentioned that you just have been finishing the Adelaide review. Can you tell us what the main points to come out of that review were?
Look, it was basically just not capitalising on sort of opportunities. I mean, we've gone through the vision and whatnot. We certainly had a crack. I mean, late in the quarter, they sort of controlled the ball, which sort of blew out the stats of the uncontested sort of marks and possession and things like that. So before they were trying to hold on to the game, it was relatively even. There wasn't a whole lot in it, to be honest. There's definitely areas of our game where we can improve that'll help us. But yeah, just basically, if we had capitalised on a few more opportunities, we would have won the game.
You'll confront a vastly improved Suns team on Saturday, Louis, and I imagine you realise that you have to take those opportunities, don't you? Because it's only round 3, but a win's crucial this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it doesn't matter who you're playing. You can't be missing goals. There's certainly no easy team in this competition anymore, so you can't take anyone lightly.
Just finally, before we let you go, is the confidence in the group still high, or has it been affected at all by losing the first 2 matches?
No, I think the boys are still definitely optimistic. The weekend hurt a bit, but I think the intent was there, and that's the main thing. We're competitive, and I mean, let's be honest, Adelaide were a top 4 side last year. We're kidding ourselves if we thought we were just going to walk in there and win it. So it was a hot game, and we just fell short. So I think the boys are aware of that, and we can only sort of look forward and try and make it 1 and 2 this week. So if we do that, then we're still with it.
Well, thanks for joining us on the show today, and all the best for this weekend and the rest of your season.
No worries. Thanks very much.
Just before we go on the Fancast today, look forward to this weekend's matches. Firstly, the reserves play at Metricon Stadium as the curtain raiser to the seniors games, 4pm. Get along and support the reserves. And then the seniors, 7:40pm, tickets from lions.com.au.
Everyone whinged and kicked and screamed when the NAB Cup Grand Final wasn't up here in Queensland, and rightfully so. But now's your chance to get down and show that footy in Queensland is relevant and that you support it. And there should be 20,000 plus people at Metricon Stadium on Saturday night.
Now, that's all we've got time for on the Round 3 edition of the Fancast. Tune in next week where we'll hopefully have 4 points to enjoy.
Can't wait, Dom. Speak to you then.